Alright, so this is a basic overview of the control panel. I'm going to go over some of its functions and describe the basic operation of it and how to define set points. So just as an overview, you have obviously your disconnect for main power, you have an E-stop, pretty self-explanatory. The start scale button in the lower right hand corner is what will actually start the batch. And when the batch is running, the light will be green. You have a stop scale which interrupts the batch. And then you have the rotary valve control, which is normally going to be set in the auto position, meaning it will run anytime the batch is running. You can also, if you choose, set it to an on position so that it just runs constantly. But for our purposes, we'll leave it in the auto position. We also have a gyrator, which is for densification. This controls the vibration motor. We currently have it set to off. Here again, just like the rotary valve, we can set it to auto so that it will cycle on and off during a normal batch, or we can set it to on so that it runs permanently. So for our purposes, we're going to set that to auto. So going to the scale controller, what we see here is the simulated gross weight. We don't have this actually hooked up to a scale, but we're going to use a simulator. This is the gross weight that would be shown on the scale when you have a bag of material. We see that it's idle, ready to dispense. We have not delivered any material. We defined our target as 250 ahead of time. The last completed weight was 249.3, and we're in run mode and the last cycle is complete. So suppose you want to change that to 300 pounds. If that were the case, you would go to Setup, and you get a list of options here. It shows your target, your slow weight, settle time, and pre-act. Your target, if you want it to be 300, you would select Target. It says Enter New Target. We punch in 300, then we hit Enter. It's now changed to 300. As we approach 300, we're going to choose to transition to a slow weight at about 50 pounds short. So at the 250 pound mark, we're going to slow down. And then for settle time, we've set that at 1 second. And then for pre-act, we can set a whole other list of variables here. So in pre-act, we can set things like how long we want to check before we interrupt the batch if you were to run out of material, for example. In other words, if the bag were empty, you would want it to eventually stop as opposed to just running permanently. So we've got it set at 15 seconds for our purposes. We have a flow rate check amount of 3 pounds. We have a free fall weight of 1 pound, and that's all we have for these settings. So if we were going to simulate the batch, I'm going to go ahead and hit Start, which is here in the lower right hand corner. When I hit Start, the light comes on, and I currently show 0. Now this is a temporary 0. In other words, we have temporarily tared out the gross weight that's on the scale. As we start losing weight, you can see both the displayed weight and the delivered weight are the same. Now, as I said, when we get to about 250 pounds, you're going to watch, it's going to say dispensing fast, it's going to change to dispensing slow. There's that, dispensing slow. As we approach our target, and then we hit 300, and now we're ready. So the last completed weight was 301.7, slightly overshot a bit, but now we'll go back to our gross weight, and this is now what's left in our bag. On the other hand, if you want to, I'm going to turn it down to below 300. If I had less than 300 pounds left in the bag and I hit Start, the batch is going to go ahead and run. But because I don't have the entire 300, I'm going to stop right about there. And after about 15 seconds, it's going to trip out on what's called a low flow rate. There we are, low flow rate. So right now the batch is paused. We can resume this as soon as new material is loaded onto the machine. Notice that the delivered is only 263. Now the scale keeps track of this, so if you do run out of material, you can place a new bag and start from pick up where you left off.